Hey there everyone, and I thank you guys so much for tuning in to yet another episode of My Orchid Adventures with me, Maria Young. So in today's episode, what we're going to be doing is featuring this catasetum right here. Now, I did feature this orchid in another video. It was a video where we talked about how to propagate orchids via the twisty tie method. And I did showcase her very briefly, just showing you some of the things that was going on with her. But I have to be honest with you folks, I didn't show everything that was going on with her, because to do so it would take too much time, and I decided to go ahead and do a whole other video so I can cover everything extensively. So ta-da and voila, here we are today. So we're gonna go ahead and jump into it, and I'm gonna show you exactly what's going on with her, and then we're gonna talk about some of the options that we have to further try to raise her or grow her appropriately. And I need you guys to get involved in this conversation, because I definitely have my own ideas of what I want to do. It doesn't mean that it's the best solution, so I definitely need your engagement, your ideas, and also your perception on what I could do with the orchid. So let's go ahead and jump into it, and let's jump into it right now, like bam, 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 and boom. And this right here, folks, is the catasetum type of orchid that I was talking about. Now, in particular, she is a Cycnodes Wine Delight Yellow Swan. And in the prior video, I did talk to you about the growth that was showing on her catasetum bulb. And on one side, she indeed had 5 growths. Now, I also talked to you about why I believe she was throwing off so many new growths, was the fact that indeed she had quite a serious infection. As you can see right here, this bulb is actually infected, and indeed it is desiccating and rotting away this bulb right here. So this bulb is reacting to this emergency situation by trying to sustain its livelihood with all of these growths. Now, what I actually wanted to do was a recount of all of the new growths, because I actually did not expose to you all that she actually had, because if we turn it to the other side and we take a closer look, you will also see that there are several growths that are also coming up on the other side of the pseudobulb as well. So let's go ahead and do that count now. Okay, and here we are taking a closer look. If we look at the very, very bottom, you are seeing that little nubbin coming up right there. So that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and if we take a close look right there, you're also seeing a little tiny nubbin as well coming out, and that would be the 6th one. So let's go ahead and turn it around, and here we are on the other side. We're starting at the very bottom again. Here you're seeing the first new growth. Here's the second new growth. Moving on, you see the 3rd one, the 4th one, and moving all the way to the top, you are seeing a 5th one right here, a small teeny weeny nubbin. So indeed, all together, we are counting up 11 possible new growths on one particular catasetum type bulb. Now, that is absolutely unheard of. To be honest with you, I have never seen this occurrence before, and indeed that leads us to believe that this is a very rare occurrence, so we definitely have to decide on what we need to do in order to grow this catasetum bulb right here. And we have to really strategize, because again, this doesn't happen too often, and we want to be particularly careful, because it would be quite a delight if all of the growths did survive and we had 11 growths on this bulb. But as you know, it can be pretty tricky to try to make this happen, and I'll tell you why. So first, let's note about the catasetum type of orchids and the way that they like to be watered. Now, you guys do know this is a very, very thirsty orchid. It loves its moisture, and indeed it wants to be watered often. So with that in mind, and knowing that all of these keikis are growing one on top of the other, it's going to be quite difficult, because once the roots start growing in, it is definitely going to want its moisture. And being that the media is all the way down here, it's going to be quite difficult for the ones on top to get into that media and to receive the proper watering that it needs. So that is one of the problems that we have already. And another issue that we could be dealing with is the fact that the catasetum types of orchids really have some very thick and abundant and very aggressive roots. And because these growths are growing one on top of the other, each one of these will have its own root system. And I've literally witnessed it where I had a catasetum type of orchid growing its new growth, and there was a smaller catasetum growth at the bottom as well, just like this one, and the top one actually grew so hardy with its roots that it literally choked out the bottom ones. So now we have all of these that could have their own individual root system that indeed can compete with one another and choke each other out. So that is one of the possibilities that could also occur if we leave the orchid growing in this manner. So I guess the real question here, folks, is what is the best method in which to grow this catasetum and to successfully keep and maintain each and every one of these new growths? Now, of course, we can let it remain the way that it's growing now and say, hey, good luck to you, and let's basically let nature take its course. Now, again, I have some qualms with that because I really believe that it's going to have quite a difficult time in which it would try to grow and survive, and I don't believe many of these actual growths would survive if we grew it in this manner. So what are our other options? Well, another propagation method, especially when you're dealing with canes or pseudobulbs that are long in length, you can actually take it and lie it on its side and promote the growths to grow that way, as in this case right here. Now what I'm doing is lying this one on its side, and what this can do is actually promote the growths to grow outwards, then eventually upwards, and then that would actually allow all of the new growths to come up. So that is one of our options that we have. And the last and final option that I can think of, folks, is a lot more riskier and far more extreme, but indeed it can cause a little bit more focus on the new growths, and it can better ensure the growth of each individual one as well. Now what I'm talking about is literally cutting this pseudobulb in half vertically. That's right, folks. Of course, it is a little bit more riskier because now we're talking about possible infections, which is always the case anytime you're doing any type of surgical cutting on an orchid. Now again, it could focus more of its attention on the actual growths for the simple fact it is a far greater emergency. So indeed we have a better chance, I believe, of the growths actually coming forth. So that is also a possibility as well. Now, of course, before we do any of that, I'm going to go ahead and split this apart so that they are completely separated. And we are also going to deal with this infection right here, completely cutting and removing this so it will not further infect the rest of the bulb. And we're hoping this will work similar to a back bulb, and a new growth will also grow from this one right here. So again, what we would be doing is cutting this in half vertically, and then we would of course be drying out the two sides or where the wounds are at on the pseudobulb, and then afterwards we would take it and lie both of those cuttings into this type of container as well, and that is how we would grow it, and it would grow similar to what I talked about earlier. So those are our plan of actions, or the possible steps that we can take. Folks, I need you guys to really put on your thinking caps. Let me know what any of your ideas are, and also your thoughts on some of the procedures that I talked about in this video. I really need your help on this one, folks. That is an absolute catasetum. What in the world are we going to do with it wrapped? Because indeed, folks, what in the world are we going to do with it? I really hope that you guys will engage with me on this one. I hope that you guys will help me out by posting your comments, your opinions, your suggestions, your perceptions on what you believe I should do in this case. And I have to tell you, your opinions do truly count, because indeed, together we're going to come up with a plan, and your suggestions can actually determine the future of this catasetum right here. So that's how detrimental it is for me to hear from you guys. I thank you guys so much for tuning in, and you guys already know I do truly love and appreciate you guys all. Mwah!